Good morning. I just woke up and this is my lovely bedhead, but my bedhead kind of looks like my normal hair, so what's the difference? I'm sitting in a new room in my house. I just thought I'd give it a try. You can see behind me there's a little Baby Yoda love pop card and a Hogwarts snow globe. There's just paraphernalia all around the house. I can't do anything about it. This morning I wanted to talk to you about one of my favorites, so I have my trusty dino mug, my coffee here. Let's get started. All right, the favorite I want to talk to you about this morning is An Astronaut's Guide to Life on Earth by Chris Hadfield. The longer title being An Astronaut's Guide to Life on Earth, What Going to Space Taught Me About Ingenuity, Determination, and Being Prepared for Anything. This is a personal fave, 5 out of 5 stars on Goodreads for me. I have read it twice, listened to it once. I absorb it frequently. So this book is an autobiography by Chris Hadfield, who is a Canadian astronaut. And when I say it's an autobiography, it might also belong in the self-help section, and I'll tell you a little bit about what I mean. Chris Hadfield, when he was younger, when he was like 9, in 1969, he saw the moon landing with Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin, and he was like, this is it. This is what I want to do. I want to be an astronaut. But at the time, Canada didn't even have a space agency, so he knew it was going to be an uphill battle. Yes, the book does go through his personal journey to becoming an astronaut and the sacrifices he had to make and his family had to make and what that meant to him and going through that for his career. But really, the first chapter feels the most autobiographical because he's kind of going through his journey growing up, but it's short. The rest are these lessons that you could kind of apply to any walk of life. And if you applied them, you'd definitely be better off for it. But they're kind of lessons to how to become an astronaut, right? Now, of course, there's a lot more things involved, like math and training and yeah, you couldn't just apply these lessons and then suddenly become an astronaut, but we get the idea. Some of these lessons that are just the titles of the chapters are Have an Attitude, The Power of Negative Thinking, Sweat the Small Stuff, What's the Next Thing That Could Kill Me, and Aim to Be a Zero. And those are just some of my favorite sections, but that's like half the book already. So some of the lessons that I just want to share with you are that were valuable to me. Invaluable? They were really important for me. One of them is this idea, and I think it kind of is an overarching message between several of the chapters, like what's the next thing that could kill me and sweat the small stuff. It's this idea of preparedness. You know, I'm kind of a serial worrier. It's not something I love about myself, but there it is. And after I read this book for the first time, I know it just seems like common sense, but, you know, easier said than done for half of the things we learn in life, right? And the lesson is kind of, what are you worrying about? What is the main reason you're worried? Pinpoint some of the reasons you're worried and then address those issues individually. So if you're worried about giving a speech in front of a large crowd, what specifically are you worried about? Are you worried about people asking questions that you won't know the answers to? Are you worried about bumbling over your words? In those instances, prepare, practice. I had an instance one time where I had to give like a training speech that was long in front of a group of at least 20 to 30 people. And I was so nervous. And so the night before, I actually typed out what I was going to say as if I was going to say it that way. So very casual, conversationally. I put like and you know in there. And I kind of removed some of the ums and ahs because I didn't want to seem unprepared. But I also wanted it to seem casual. I didn't want to just get up there and read my slides, right? So I wrote it all out. And then I practiced that. I practiced sounding casual. And as weird as that might sound, I felt prepared because of that. You also can like think of questions that people might ask you that you want to prepare for too. And there might be a question that somebody asks that you don't know. And it's okay to say, I don't know, but can I look that up and get back to you? And I think people appreciate that honesty. So I kind of took some of the lessons from this. Prepare. If you're worried about something, information gather, research. When in doubt, go to the library, Ravenclaw. That's totally a Hermioneism from Harry Potter, but that is sometimes part of the reason I worry. I don't have enough information. So what am I going to do? I'm going to do the research. It's one of my favorite lessons from this book because I think it really gave me the power over worrying. You know, if I have a worry, I feel like I control a lot of the aspects of what I'm worrying about. The other part to learn about, which I don't think they do so much as astronauts because they can't, is stop worrying about the things you cannot control. Now, as astronauts, they have to try to worry about all of it. I mean, when you're in outer space and things go wrong, you can't just be like, well, you know, we can't control it, so that's not an option. But for me personally in my life, it is something that I have had to learn to do. Another one of the awesome lessons in this book that Chris Hadfield talks about is that aim to be a zero, the idea that you could be a -1, a 0, or a 1. And I won't explain it as well as him, but this is the idea that when you come into a new situation and you don't know anything, the best you can hope for is to be a 0, to not alter the situation around you in a bad way. For example, when you're on the International Space Station, like Chris was, he was a commander of the 35th expedition on the International Space Station, you can't just come in and change everything because you're the commander and think, well, I'm the head honcho, so it's my way or the highway. You could accidentally bump into the wall and ruin years and years of a biological experiment. You have to aim to be the 0 first, and then you can shoot higher and aim to be a 1, which is contributing in a meaningful way to what's going on around you. He gave an example of a -1 that I will never forget. He gets on an elevator with a senior astronaut, somebody who's, you know, in the higher ranks, and they don't push a button and in fact say something like, I didn't become an astronaut to push a button. Can you imagine if you had to work with somebody like that, who had that level of ego and who felt like they were so important they couldn't even push a button? It was just such a good example that will never leave my mind. I cannot forget something like that, and I definitely wouldn't want to work on a team with that guy. So those are just a few nuggets of the lessons that I've learned from this book. And in addition to that, Chris Hadfield's personal story is super interesting. I mean, come on, commander of the 35th expedition of the International Space Station. How much more interesting does it get? Now, one of the other lessons, last lesson, oh my gosh, there's so many. But you know, he talks about coming back from that and then he retired. And the thing is he had to remember that there are tons of astronauts. I mean, not tons, right? We're not all astronauts, but there are a lot of other astronauts that are shooting for the same goals. So at some point, you might have to accept the fact that you might not even get to space. There are astronauts doing a lot of work on the ground. And you have to be okay with that. You have to be okay with not being the shining star. Your career isn't meaningless because you didn't get to the top rung or the nth goal or whatever. The goals that you got to are also amazing and also support other astronauts. And that was a really important lesson too, I think. So just so many nuggets in here. I will link to this really cool video that Chris Hadfield shot on the International Space Station where he performed David Bowie's Space Odyssey, which I'm sure he's like, why is this the thing I'm known for? I did so much as an astronaut, but it is very cool to bring space agencies and, you know, being an astronaut in the International Space Station to the public in a real way and a very cool social media presence kind of way. It's so neat that he was able to do that. And it's a really fun video, so I will link to it below. But I had to share this book with you guys. I always like to pick it up and just like reread some of these nuggets to just remind myself how to act and how to be and how I can apply some of these lessons to my life. He does narrate the book, the audiobook, which is fun, but I think you miss out on some of the fun photographs that are included in the actual book. Just some neat things from his career, some photos from his career that I think are just kind of fun to absorb as you're reading through his life story. I mean, not his entire life story, but his story to becoming an astronaut and these lessons. I totally recommend this book. Please pick it up, even for the few nuggets, even if you want to skip over the bits about his life, which I'm sure you might be a little offended. Chris Hadfield also wrote a very cute children's book called The Darkest Dark, and maybe I'll do that one in a later video, but what a cool guy. I mean, I hope he's cool. I don't think he's going to be that -1 that we talked about. He seems so personable and interesting, and I love this book and I love the guy, so I totally recommend this. Please, please, please read. Thanks for watching. Please follow me on Goodreads, Twitter, Instagram, Litzy. I'm at BooksMcD at all those things, on all of those things. I really appreciate you watching. If you could subscribe if you want more reviews, I'd really appreciate it. Please pick this up. Please pick this book up. I hope you love it as much as I do. Thanks for watching.